Hello and welcome again to another session of the course Let's Excel Together. This will be our third section together, and in today's session we're going to be looking at functions and formulas. In earlier sessions we looked at entry, we looked at formatting, and today we'll be looking at functions and formulas, or formulas and functions. You recall where we mentioned that Excel as a spreadsheet application, at its core is used for storing and organizing data. Now, in the course of doing this, you would have to perform some operations. Some persons may call it manipulations of this data that have been stored. And if you've been following, you still have your data set, that we have manually imputed, ourselves here. Now, for this next bit, you can still apply what we're learning on this. I've also taken time to get data from another source. You recall I had shared you could have data from different means. You could set it yourself by typing it, or the data could be provided to you by some other party, a client, a colleague, or in my case, luckily for me, I was able to get mine from an online resource, which I would share the link, in the description of the course. So just be sure to just check in on that. You see the link, so you could also get data, sample data sources, which you can use to improve, or test your skill set as the case may be. So, getting straight into it, personally, there are several functions or several formulas in Microsoft Excel, quite a number of them. I can't even place a number myself, but there are some that are important to have at fingertips, to keep yourself abreast with things that are going on. And I prefer to just categorize them. Now, on the tabs like you have on your screen, we're looking at the home tab, and in our previous section, we looked a little at the insert tab, right? I would like us to just skip page layout, and you have formulas, formulas tab here, and you see that the Excel application has tried to group or organize different functions based on their category, so to speak. You can always look into all of this for yourself. Personally, I categorize them, if for purpose of this course, into five broad categories. Not everything that is here is it's covered in mine, but for you to get yourself abreast, I covered into five categories. I have what I call arithmetic functions. All right, arithmetic functions. We're going to look into that. I have them all listed out here. I have statistical functions, all right? Just a little, basic statistical functions. We have conditional functions, have reference functions, and then have text functions, right? If you follow through this course like you have been up to this point, you get yourself familiar with these five categories, like I'm going to be sharing with you soon. I am fully confident that you will be able to learn any other function, any other task that comes your way, you will be able to learn, because the learning curve, it's quite steep. So as you progress from one point, and that's the thing with Microsoft Excel application, as you progress from one point, you understand the basics, you understand everything about it. It's easy for you to progress to the next bit. So jumping right into it, we'll be looking at arithmetic functions. So arithmetic functions are those basic mathematical operations that you already know, okay? And one of such familiar things is things like sum, to add numbers, right? To add numbers, to subtract numbers, to multiply, to perform division operations, okay? And on your keyboard, you already have these symbols. Now, one of the first rule of thumb to apply to formulas or functions, these are interchangeable terms, they mean the same thing. Depending on the context of who is using it, some persons like to say, oh, this is a function, this is a formula. It just depends on usage and the space you're operating in, okay? So getting straight into it, one common rule that applies to all functions, regardless of formulas, is it must be preceded by an equal to symbol. That is to say, it must begin. You have to start it by typing an equal to symbol, and keyboard equal to symbol. So now once you type in the equal to symbol in your in a cell, then you can start typing in the formula or function. Now, in this case, we're just going to perform the basic arithmetic function of adding two numbers. Okay. One of first such addition we know is that 1 plus 1. I know it's crazy, 1 plus 1, and we just leave it at that, and we hit enter, and we see it displays 2. Now, if you recall, earlier in the course where we were explaining some concepts, some things, properties in the Excel application, we had said that this long rectangular bar being the formula bar, I said we're going to expound on it, where it doesn't always show what is displayed in the cell in the formula bar, because sometimes what's displayed in the cell could be as a result of operations behind. You recall that conversation, or you recall me saying that now this is to bear. So we see that in cell J3, what's displayed on the cell is 2, the number 2. But if we should click on it and look at the formula bar, we can see our formula. So our formula is not visible, right? It's not visible when you're not on the cell, but when you click on the cell, you can see the formula in the formula bar. However, what is visible is the expected output of that cell. Now, formulas or functions have some expected behavior or some rules that you're supposed to follow. So in this case here, you're adding, and you're supposed to add numbers, right? So if we were to put an alphabet, let's see what happens. We get an error. Okay, there are different kinds of errors which we will cover much later as we progress in the course. Now I'm just going to press Ctrl Z to undo that action so we can have it returned, as this. So this is 1 plus 1. Now this is you adding numbers, arbitrarily, instantly, that you have the numbers 1, you have the numbers 2, so you're in your formula bar, you're literally typing them in, to say 3 plus 5, you hit enter. But it's not always practical, because there are sometimes where you're trying to perform um, some kind of action based on the content of another cell. So at that point, let's say Belemagrand now he has 100 naira, Bomagrand has 300 naira, and you want to find out what's the total between Belemagrand and Bomagrand. It's not always right for you to type 100 plus 300, because you could also make mistakes, in terms of um, imputing that. You can easily make reference to the cell where the data is located in, and you recall from our earlier sessions where we made mention of understanding cell locations. Okay, if you're not familiar, I would advise that you just take some time to refer to those earlier modules, get yourself abreast, and jump right in. I'll be right here waiting to entertain any questions or comments you have regarding what we've covered thus far. Okay, so back to what I was saying now, trying to use the cell location. So if I'm to add what is for Belemagrand, at serial number 1, for Bomagrand at serial number 2, what I would do is still the equal to symbol, right? Now I can click on that cell, and now you see it appears in my formula bar E2. Okay, I impute the operand, the operand, which is what it's called mathematically, in this case, an additional symbol, a plus symbol. And then I select the next cell, which has the value that I want to perform my operation on, and I hit enter, and instantly you see that it performs that action to show that we know that we could see that 100 plus 300 is equals to 400. So you see that value displayed, but once again, if we click on that cell, we can see the formula, that was imputed to get this value that is displayed here. Okay, to keep getting more interesting, um, additions are not the only thing. You could also perform subtractions in similar manner by using the subtraction um, key on your keyboard. So let's say I'm going to say the difference between David John here, and you locate the subtraction key on your keyboard. um, it's just like the dash key, you know, and you just say E4, and I'm going to just take it away from Bomar Grand here, and I hit enter. You see the difference: 500, 300, that's 200. Okay, you can also replicate same thing for multiplications. Okay, you select a cell, you impute your operand, right? You select the next cell, or if you don't want to even use another cell, you can say, oh, I just want to multiply by an arbitrary number, and I impute 10 there as a digit. I hit enter and I see the result. So this is 1,000 naira, and this is because I multiplied the value in cell E8 by 10. So what's in cell E8? E8 is what? 100 naira, and correct 100 times 10, equals 1,000. Okay. You want to perform division. Now for divisions, how you perform divisions, the division operations is you use the backward slash, the slash key, all right, which is what you can see displayed there. You could look into the formula bar, and you just say divide by 10 again. Originally, and we can see that because this is 1,500 divided by 10, literally like just taking off 10, to give us 150. So these are how you perform basic arithmetic operations with the Microsoft Excel application. Basic arithmetic operations with the Microsoft Excel application. I'm going to move over to a data set which I called from the internet. I'm going to share the link. It's in the description, for which you could go also download data sets for yourself. So in this data set here, it has to do with orders, sales orders, and they have the order date, the region, the rep, item, units, unit cost, and then total. This has already been calculated. But if we were to actually say, oh, what's the total cost, right? The cost price of a pencil in the eastern region. Okay, so that would be to multiply the unit by the unit cost. I would like for you to do this. So what are we going to do here? We're going to say equal to this cell here, the operand, unit cost, the value in the unit cost. I hit enter. Okay, and to do it for all the records, I'm scrolling down, and there are quite a number of them. There are about 43. Okay, there are about 43. So you can impute again, the formula. You select the cell where this is, you hit this point here, you hit the unit cost cell location, you hit enter, and you get the value. Now it will be painstaking if we have to manually type this formula all the way down, which brings us to one of the things we learned at the point of entry. If you remember, we mentioned autofill. Okay, autofill. Do you recall what we said about autofill? Okay, it will allow you to do what? I was expecting you to just fill in the blanks. Go back to those videos, right, to get a better understanding how we broke it down. We spent some time expounding on what autofill is, and there we used it for our serial number column, our SNO column. Here, we want to use it with a formula, all right, to fill adjacent cells that are not blank, based on values that are above it. Okay, so here I have this formula, and the formulas are the same. So what am I going to do? Remember the autofill, I can select both, I can drag, or I can double click. Let's see what happens. I'm going to double click. Okay, and the formula, if I click into the formula, I'm seeing that the formula still remains here. I'm on cell H12, and the formula is multiplying the value in E12 by the value in F12 to give me this result. Do you understand it? So if we were to work backwards, right, let's work backwards to ascertain the unit cost, still testing what you've learned with regards to the arithmetic functions to divide. So that means if we were to work backwards, say we have our excuse me, now we have our total cost. All right, so we're just going to call this total cost. Now let's work backwards to arrive at the um, unit cost. So, right, so we have our total cost, and let's assume we didn't have these units here. So what are we going to do? We're going to use equal to, say, total cost divided by what now? By the units. Okay, we hit enter, and we're going to see that the unit cost is 1.99. Now of course, like we shared, this its cost has to do with currency, money. So depending on your region where you are, you can apply what will part of the things we learned in formatting the currency, that best suits your region. And again, all we have to do, we can just autofill the cells below, and you see that it comes to the point where there is not a blank cell, right? And then it stops. And we can also confirm the correctness of our actions with what is already filled in here. You could also pull out a calculator, and just impute those figures. Now, to take it a step further, let's put a sales. Let's put sales on this, right? So for sales now, I'm going to say I want us to sell this, have our sales at 15% of our cost price. That should be our selling price. 15% of our cost price. Okay. I want you to figure that out without looking at what I'm doing. Just figure that out without looking at what I'm doing. Okay. Try to see if you can do that without looking at what I'm doing. Okay. And let me know when you're done. If you're done, proceed to try to calculate the profit. Okay. All right. So what did I do? Something tells me we're picking. All right. What I did was to simply, in my formula here, I took the cost price and then I multiplied it by 15%, but not just by 15%. Okay. So 15%, mathematically speaking, I put in 1.15. 0.15 represents 15%, 1 being the actual value. Okay, now this is more like I'm teaching mathematics, finance, but the basic thing I want you to understand is applying the multiplication rule in your Excel application to achieve your desired outcome. So in this case here, we have been able to arrive at an arbitrary selling price. Okay, now that you have your cost price, you have your selling price, so it's easy for you to ascertain your profit. Okay, so quickly see how you can get your profit. We know that our profit typically, like given the variables that we have at our disposal here, our profit will typically be the selling price or the sales less total cost. Okay, so I expect you've done that, and if your answer tallies with what I have here, then you are correct. Okay, I'm going to hit enter at this point, and that's the profit for the product of pencil in the eastern region. Okay, I'm going to use the autofill to have that drag, apply all that formula to all the products, all the items rather, so we can see the profit displayed. Okay, is there any point where it's not clear to you, you will need clarification? Please do not hesitate to share your thoughts via the comment section. You can reach out to me for mails or a 1v1 session. That's fine. So this is it for basic arithmetic functions, basic arithmetic operations that you carry out. So you can see already how you can apply this, to real life scenarios. You're not just literally saying 1 plus 1, like we did earlier. You're doing different things, to it. Now, I something I think I may have missed out on. If you're having difficulties accessing the plus symbol because it's on the same key as the equal to symbol, simply hold down the shift key. All right, hold down the shift key on Windows and on the Mac. You hold the the key that represents the shift key for a Windows machine. Okay, just hold on that shift key, and then you press that same key. Hold on the shift key while you press, for this case, I'm just holding it down so you can see the plus. If I take my hands off the shift key and I keep pressing, I'm getting equal to symbols. Okay, so this is it for the arithmetic functions. Next up, we're going to also look at the statistical functions, in the next video. So just take some time to digest this, and I'll see you soon for the next video where we'll talk about statistical functions. Thanks for tuning in. See you soon.